What would you do if you discovered that the person you trusted the least was secretly becoming the greatest blessing in your family's life? Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on notifications because today's emotional story will remind you that true kindness is often found where people least expect it. Now, let's begin. Jonathan Hayes was one of the wealthiest businessmen in the city. He owned luxury hotels, technology companies, and real estate worth hundreds of millions of dollars. To the outside world, he looked like a man who had everything: money, respect, power, and influence. But behind the gates of his enormous mansion, he lived with a pain that no amount of wealth could heal. 5 years earlier, a tragic car accident had taken the life of his beloved wife and left his only son, 12-year-old Ethan, permanently paralyzed from the waist down. Since that heartbreaking day, Jonathan buried himself in work, believing that earning more money would somehow protect the only family he had left. Ethan had the finest doctors, the best therapists, and every expensive medical treatment available, yet nothing restored his ability to walk. Jonathan hired dozens of nurses, caregivers, and housekeepers over the years, but many only stayed for the paycheck. Some ignored Ethan when Jonathan wasn't home, while others secretly complained about how difficult caring for a disabled child could be. After catching 2 employees stealing valuables from the mansion, Jonathan's trust in people disappeared completely. Without telling anyone, he installed hidden cameras throughout the house. Not to invade privacy for entertainment, but to protect his vulnerable son. Every evening after work, he reviewed hours of security footage, expecting to catch another dishonest employee. Then one quiet Monday morning, a new maid arrived. Her name was Maria. She was a widow in her early 40s, dressed in simple clothes with kind eyes and a gentle smile. She had no impressive resume, no expensive recommendations, and no polished speech. Jonathan almost rejected her application immediately, but the agency insisted she was hardworking and honest. He reluctantly hired her, warning that every corner of the house was monitored. Maria simply smiled and replied, "I have nothing to hide, sir. I'm only here to help." During her first few days, Jonathan saw nothing unusual. She cleaned carefully, prepared meals, and spoke respectfully to everyone. But after a week, something unexpected appeared on the camera recordings. While no one else was around, Maria would finish her work early and quietly sit beside Ethan. She never knew the cameras were recording every moment. Instead of staring at her phone like previous employees, she asked Ethan about his favorite books, listened to his dreams, laughed at his jokes, and encouraged him to tell stories. Jonathan watched in silence as Ethan, who rarely smiled anymore, began laughing again. One afternoon, Maria noticed Ethan looking sadly out the window at children playing soccer across the street. She gently rolled his wheelchair into the garden and said, "You may not be able to run today, but your heart can still dream farther than anyone else's." Ethan smiled for the first time in months. Jonathan replayed that moment several times, confused by the emotions rising inside him. As the weeks passed, the cameras revealed even more surprising moments. Maria secretly brought old board games from her own home so Ethan wouldn't feel lonely. She taught him simple cooking from his wheelchair, celebrated every tiny achievement, and even read adventure novels aloud when he couldn't sleep. She was never instructed to do any of this. She wasn't paid extra. She simply cared. Then one rainy evening, Jonathan watched footage that completely changed how he saw her. Ethan accidentally spilled hot soup across the dining table. Terrified, the boy burst into tears, apologizing over and over because previous caregivers had yelled at him for similar accidents. Instead of becoming angry, Maria knelt beside him, gently wiped away his tears, hugged him, and whispered, "A broken plate can be replaced. A broken heart takes much longer to heal. Never apologize for something that wasn't your fault." Jonathan paused the video. His eyes filled with tears as he remembered saying almost those exact words to his late wife years earlier. For the first time since the accident, he realized he had been protecting Ethan with money instead of love. Curious, Jonathan continued reviewing older recordings. He discovered that Maria often stayed 30 or 40 minutes after her shift ended without asking for overtime pay. She helped Ethan finish school assignments, encouraged his physical therapy exercises, and celebrated every small improvement like it was the greatest victory in the world. Then came the moment Jonathan would never forget. One night, believing everyone had gone to sleep, Maria quietly entered the family chapel inside the mansion. She sat alone, folded her hands, and prayed with tears in her eyes. God, she whispered, please don't make the boy walk if that isn't your plan. Just don't let him lose hope. Give him happiness, even if his legs never move again. Jonathan froze in disbelief. This woman wasn't praying for herself. She wasn't asking for money, promotions, or success. She was praying only for his son. The next morning, Jonathan invited Maria into his office. She nervously assumed she had made a mistake and feared losing her job. Instead, Jonathan thanked her for everything she had done. Maria looked confused because she believed no one had noticed her quiet acts of kindness. Jonathan admitted that he had installed hidden cameras to protect Ethan but confessed that those same cameras had revealed something priceless. A heart filled with genuine compassion. Tears filled Maria's eyes as Jonathan explained that she had given his son something no doctor, therapist, or expensive treatment had been able to provide: hope. Months later, the mansion felt alive again. Ethan laughed often, worked harder during therapy, and even began dreaming about becoming a writer one day. Jonathan reduced his working hours, spending more time with his son instead of chasing another business deal. Eventually, he established a charitable foundation in Maria's name to support children living with disabilities and families struggling to afford proper care. The cameras remained installed throughout the mansion, but Jonathan rarely checked them anymore because he had learned the greatest security system wasn't hidden technology, it was surrounding yourself with people whose hearts remained kind even when nobody was watching. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all. True character is revealed not in public applause but in private moments when no one expects recognition. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with someone who believes kindness still exists, and leave a comment telling us what part moved you the most. Until next time, remember that even the smallest act of compassion can completely change someone's life.